The valley holds its cold long after the hills warm. Clara Hess stands at her fence at dawn, reading the sky the way she has for 50 years. Clara is 69. She has kept a frost calendar since her mother handed her the first leather notebook, the same week she turned 18. The notebook is full of hand-drawn cloud shapes, margin notes written in pencil, dates circled in red for every pocket frost that ever settled in this hollow. A white van comes up the county road one Tuesday, Donovan Park stepping out in a clean jacket, holding a tablet that shows something large in glass. Meridian Fresh has leased 280 acres beside Clara's land, building 3 connected greenhouse structures for year-round lettuce and herb production. Clara tells Donovan about the pocket frost, a narrow, cold event that drops the valley floor 15 degrees below any regional forecast, every few years without warning. Donovan listens politely, showing Clara the thermal sensor grid on his tablet, 18 stations covering every corner of the new site. "We've got it covered," he says. Clara says nothing more. She walks back to her barn, pulls the notebook from the shelf, and opens it to the last page she circled in red. If you've ever watched someone with a map being told they don't need one, stay with me. Subscribe if you like stories where the map turns out to be right. Construction moves fast that fall, Donovan walking the site as steel frames for the first greenhouse go up above the frost line Clara had marked years ago. 3 long glass structures take shape across the leased land, their thermal systems humming to life before the first winter even arrives. Donovan oversees the installation of 18 thermal sensor posts, each one designed to stream live temperature data to a central climate control board. Clara walks her fence line at dusk, looking at the glass roof lines catching the last light, and writes the date in her frost notebook. The first growing season runs smooth, Donovan walking the rows inside the greenhouse as head lettuce fills out under warm, controlled light. Clara checks her notebook on a quiet morning in late September, turning to the pages where cloud patterns repeat themselves every 7 to 9 years. She notices a specific formation building over the eastern ridge, the same wide, flat base with a thin, trailing edge her mother once called the cold shelf. Clara circles the date in pencil the way her mother taught her, writes the cloud description in the margin, and sets the notebook on the kitchen table. Both properties sit side by side through October, Clara's low barn and old apple rows on one side, 3 long glass rooftops on the other. Donovan schedules a full production run for early November, the greenhouse system set to hold steady at exactly the temperature the lettuce varieties need. Inside the greenhouses, irrigation lines run the length of each structure, thin pipes carrying water at a carefully calibrated flow rate through the night. Clara steps outside before bed one evening and stands in the dark, feeling the air press low and still against the valley floor. Donovan checks the regional weather app one last time before leaving the site, the forecast showing a mild overnight low, nothing unusual expected. Clara opens her notebook to the circled date and sits at her kitchen table a long time, the lamp on, reading the margin notes her mother left. By midnight, the cloud shelf settles exactly over the hollow the way the notebook described, invisible to any station measuring temperature at standard height. The cold doesn't announce itself, it just drops, slow and quiet, pooling against the valley floor the way cold water sinks to the bottom of a jar. Donovan's thermal sensors read the air at standard station height, 2 meters off the ground, never reaching the narrow layer of frost forming far below. At ground level, inside the greenhouse irrigation lines, water temperature begins to fall past the threshold no alarm is set to catch. The first line cracks just before 3 in the morning, a thin fracture at the lowest bend in the pipe, water beginning to spread across the floor. Inside the site office, Donovan wakes to a pressure alarm, dressing quickly, reading numbers on his phone that don't match anything in the system's memory. Clara, already awake, walks her own rows with a flashlight, her frost covers laid out the night before exactly where the cold always pools first. By dawn, 2 of the 3 greenhouse structures have sustained ruptured irrigation lines, the lettuce crop already showing cold stress across the lowest rows. Donovan walks the damage alone in the early morning light, stepping over burst pipe sections, the floor still wet beneath his boots. Clara stands among her apple tree rows, frost melting off the protective covers she laid before dark, her trees untouched, the air already warming above her. Donovan comes to Clara's fence that morning, standing on the roadside, asking how she knew to put covers down the night before. Clara sets her notebook on the fence post between them, opens it to the circled date, and lets him read her mother's handwriting for himself. Meridian Fresh sends a climate consultant to the site that week, measuring frost pocket depth with ground-level sensors nobody had thought to install before. The consultant's report confirms what the notebook already said, a localized cold event pooling below sensor height, documented in this valley for over 60 years. Donovan sits alone with the report that evening, the consultant's numbers laid out beside thermal station logs that never once registered the cold where it actually formed. Meridian Fresh's corporate team arrives in rental cars that December, walking the damaged structures quietly, asking questions nobody on the ground can comfortably answer. The crop loss assessment comes back at $430,000, the irrigation repair estimate sitting on top of it in a separate envelope. By the following spring, Donovan is no longer assigned to the site, his name replaced on the site board by someone no one on the crew has met yet. 2 of the 3 greenhouses stand empty through the season, their heating systems running at minimum to keep the pipes from failing a second time. Jesse, Clara's grandson, comes to stay for the summer, following her along the fence line in the early mornings the way she once followed her mother. Clara shows Jesse the notebook, turning to the pages her mother filled first, the cloud drawings faded, but still legible in the right light. She shows him how to match the cloud shape to the valley, and where the cold air always settles first when the shelf comes in from the east. Jesse draws his own cloud in the margin below his great-grandmother's, his pencil careful, the way Clara showed him, the date written small beside it. Clara doesn't explain more than she needs to. She just tells Jesse the frost doesn't care who owns the land. It only cares about the shape of the hollow. The valley holds its cold long after the hills warm. Clara stands at her fence again at dawn, Jesse beside her now, reading the same sky.